Right, today we'll be taking a look at 8 different decks that can be upgraded from the new Vanguard VG-V-BT05. So basically we have 2 Royal Paladin, 1 Gold Paladin, 2 Oracle Think Tank, 2 Nubatama, and 1 Narukami. Right, so let's take a look at them one by one. Okay, we'll first take a look at the Royal Paladin deck featuring Gancelot. So so this is the new Gancelot, and the effect is actually giving the Blaster Blade on the Vanguard and Rearguard circle power plus 10,000. And also during your turn, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 and above, your Blaster Blade, the circle that Blaster Blade is in the front row will become a Vanguard circle. Okay, so you have 2 Vanguards on the field. So this is the main for the deck, so 4 copies. And followed by, we have Alfred early and Monarch Century Alfred as our secondary Vanguard. So why did I choose this? It's very simple. Let's say we have Gancelot in the center, Blaster Blade on the side. Right, so if I were to write onto the Blaster Blade at the start of my right phase, Blaster Blade will go into Soul, and the effect will still trigger off, so I still gain a marker. And not only that, I can even pay the counter plus 1 to call my Blaster Blade onto another circle. Okay, so Blaster Blade here, and so Alfred early and Monarch Century Alfred is actually very useful in this deck. Even though after you do that, they'll be considered as a rear guard, but it helps you to pull out the Blaster Blade that goes to Soul, goes to drop, and it's a very good addition in case of weird situation where, example, like you have a Kagero opponent that actually burn off your Blaster Blade, so you can actually use Monarch to pull it back. And I played a single copy of the Exculpate, which is not really needed, but it's good against a certain matchup, like against Excel Clan if need to destroy all the units at the same time, like Nova Grappler. So this is one of the fastest way to do it. Alright, so of course 4 Blaster Blade. And we have the new Gordon that actually give Blaster Blade additional 5,000. And not only that, if it's in the same column, it gain boost. So you actually have a very huge Blaster Blade column. Oh, I played 3 copies. If needed, I can take away one of the Exculpate to make it 4. Okay, so 3 of these. K and Bedivere. I played 4 each, as with 1 counter blast, I can actually fill out my field, which saves cards in my hand. So it's a very good blast to the deck. Tristan, which is a Blaster Blade Searcher. With 1 counter blast, I can actually search for a Blaster Blade from my deck to hand. So as you know, Gancelot's effect without Blaster Blade is pretty much useless. So 4 of these for backup. In case I do not need it, I'll just put it aside as a boost. And Maron is optional. I played this instead of Wingao as how to put it. Since I already have Gordon and Blaster Blade is pretty huge, I don't really need additional Wingao to add that power. I'll rather have Maron, so in case I call anything on above it, I can just counter blast 1 and draw 1 plus 3,000. Counter charger to counter charge, right? After, so that I don't need to worry if need to use Maron, Alfred, or even Blaster Blade skill. So 2 of these, since it activates when Blaster Blade enter the field. Soul charge 1, and you can counter charge 1. So just 2 copy will do. And for the trigger, is pretty staple for Royal Paladin. So critical, heal. Don't recommend 12 crit, but you can actually play a bit more draw just in case. Right, so that's for the Gancelot base. Okay, here's the Royal Paladin that features Soul Savior Dragon. So Soul plus 5. During this turn, 6 of your unit get power plus 15,000. Right, and when attacking, you may soul charge 1. So this is our main. So the main combo is basically to fill out the field, and we have force 2 with additional critical, and giving all units on the field power plus 15,000, which is a very huge attack. So if your opponent don't have sentinel or protect marker in the hand, they are basically pretty dead. Okay, and next we have Palamidis. So enter the field, soul charge 1. During your turn, when you soul blast, every soul blast it gets power plus 5,000. So with Soul Savior, soul blast 5, you get plus 25,000, which is very, very big. Right, so the power base is very big for this deck. And Tinless Feather Dragon. So enter the field, counter blast 1, choose a column, call up to 2 units from your hand onto the column, and this unit get power plus 5,000, and if you call 2, draw 1. Right, this is just for additional draw. It's not a must. Then let's take a look at the grade 2 and grade 1. So same thing over here, we have K and Bedivere. Since this deck is a very fast rush deck, we try to save our hands and call as much as possible. So K and Bedivere works very well here. Next we have Akane and Pongao. So once again, it's the unit that actually call and unload from deck. So this is a good combo, and it actually soul charge 1 when enter the field. So you get the soul charge 5 very, very fast. Normally within the first strike, you can actually do the skills already. So counter blast 1, search for Pongao, and if boosted with a high beast on the same row, get power plus 3,000. Right, so this is a combo. Next, we have Baron. Not a must play, but it's pretty fun. So when your other unit attack during this battle, you can give it power plus 5,000. If it's a grade 3, you can counter blast 1, retire this unit, and you get additional critical plus 1. So after Soul Savior, this unit attack first, Soul Savior attack, give Soul Savior power plus 5,000, retire this, give additional critical. Right, so your opponent must guard this, or else they'll be in big trouble. Okay, next we have the new unicorn. Enter the field. If there are 3 units in the front row, soul charge 1. Very simple. If there are 5 or more units on the field during this turn, this unit get power plus 5,000. Right, this is a good additional that up your soul charge speed. We have 2 of the normal sentinel, the new one. On right, you can actually draw 1 and discard 1 card from your hand. Okay, so why do we play this? Very simple. As I said, this is a rush deck. Right, you can actually go up to 12 crit if you want, but I'm playing 10. Right, just in case I need additional draw power. So I have 2 draw sentinel. Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's a very, very fast-paced deck, and if you do not win by the second right, normally you are screwed. So take note. So this is and the soul charge from the last time we tried, we can actually do twice back to back for 2 turns. So actually pretty stable, and it's pretty budget. Right, so this is the Soul Saver build. Right, here we have the Tsukuyomi build from Oracle Think Tank. So let's take a look at Tsukuyomi first. So the skill is counter blast 1, discard 1 card from your hand. You select up to 3 Tsukuyomi in your soul, and you draw the same amount. If you draw 3, you can look at top 5 cards from your deck, put up to 2 at the top of your deck, and the rest back to the bottom. So you can manipulate your deck. And if you were to trigger out 2 triggers from your into a trigger zone, 3 units in your front row plus power plus 10,000. Right, so you can't really guard 2 paths for this deck. You need to guard at least 3 or 4. So this is our main. Next will be supporting grade 3, which took a lot of time thinking. Okay, first we will have the finisher, which is the deer. So you can actually soul blast 2 grade 3s, discard 1 card from your hand, look at top 7, reveal up to 2 critical trigger, put it on top, the rest back to bottom is shuffled, and 6 of unit power plus 10,000. So this for the final turn when you have everything on the field with big power, right? So there's only 2 of this. We don't need a lot since this is for final turn. Next, for the grade 3, most people will prefer to play Magus, the hexagonal Magus, because every time you trigger unit, you get power plus 5,000. But personally, I prefer Seo Amaterasu, since every time you look at the deck, you get power plus 5,000, which Tsukuyomi do that every turn. And we have a lot of units in this that actually do it. And it's a bit more stable compared to the triggers. And it's not a bad idea to write this. So I played 2. Next, we have the Imperial Daughter. So this is a alternate finisher that I have in the deck. So enter the field, counter plus 1, look at top 2, add 1 to hand, 1 back to top of her deck. If you write on a grade 3, power plus 15,000, critical plus 1. It's not a must play, right? You can actually swap it to 4 Amaterasu instead, but I think it's a good finisher in the deck. Alternative, right? So let's take a look at the grade 2s. So of course for Tsukuyomi, since we need as many as possible. Rectangle Magus that allows you to manipulate the top of your deck. So this whole deck, the main objective is just to manipulate the deck and make sure you trigger as much as possible. And in case you are going against Brun, trigger as little as possible, right? So every time you trigger a trigger unit, power plus 5,000. Okay, next we have Promise Daughter. I prefer Promise Daughter as it have the ability that it cannot be retired by opponent's card effect. So I don't need to worry about Kagero. My main worry now is actually Narukami, since they don't retire, they bind you. And this card actually get power plus 6,000 if you have 4 or more cards in hand, which is pretty easy for this deck. So 15,000 attacker. Okay, so this is the MVP, I would say. So Inaba, when after the battle where you boost a grade 3, you can put 1 card from your hand into Soul, draw 1. So it can actually, without rewriting Tsukuyomi, you can do the draw 3 easily. So this is 3 copies since you only need 1 in the back row. Okay, of course for Tsukuyomi. And for the other grade 1, I'm currently playing Kore, where I can just look at the top 2 and put back any sequence. But I was still thinking whether I should change to Tetra to increase the rate of me triggering. So counter plus 1, draw 1, put a critical trigger from your hand back to the top of the deck. So you can actually play like 4 of these instead, or 3 of these. So this option. And Gemini is not really needed since the counter blast is pretty controlled, I'll say. So it's not in my consideration at all. So for the triggers, if you notice, we have 10 critical triggers and only 2 of the Sentinel draw trigger, because this deck draws very, very fast. Actually, you get deck out very, very easily. And since this is we have Protect, so we have Protect marker as a Sentinel now, so we don't really need to think so much. So some people will learn to play 12, but I don't really recommend it. You know, sometimes you don't really rewrite that many times in the game. So I will still stick to 2 for backup. So that's Tsukuyomi deck. Okay, here we have the Oracle Think Tank deck featuring Magus. So we'll just take a look at the new addition to the deck. So mainly Fujiri. So counter plus 1, soul plus 1. During this turn, one of your Vanguard with Magus in name get power plus 10,000 and drive plus 1. So no matter which grade 3 I write, even herself, you get power plus 10,000 and drive plus 1. So minimum of 3 drive checks. So this is a very strong card. I will be playing up to around 3 copies after I mod a bit more. And the base, as you can see, is the old Magus build. And also Inaba, that allows me to have additional soul into pentagonal without rewriting. Okay, so why should we worry about rewriting? In cases like if I were to write pentagonal and I have the only grade 3 in my hand are hexagonal and fusili, I will not want to write on top and waste the pentagonal effect. So Inaba will come to play. I'll put into soul. So next time I can trigger the Soul Blast 1 grade 3 again. And yeah, so it's a very good addition to the deck. And other than that, there's not much changes. The deck still plays the manipulate the top deck, and also additional drive check, adding a critical trigger to the top deck, so it's still the same. Now let's take a look at the new Gold Paladin deck. Okay, so the new Ezel, right? This is a very interesting ability. By Counterblast 1, during this turn, your first drive check, instead of just opening from your deck, you get to look at top 2, choose one into trigger zone, one on the rearguard circle, and the trigger ability only activates after the thing got caught on the rearguard circle. Okay, so you actually manipulate your deck, and if you have 2 or more grade 3 in your soul, from the second and third triggers, it will do the same thing. So this very, very strong in premium. So triple check, you can actually do this 3 times. Okay, so this is our main. And for our sub grade 3s, we have the other 2 Ezel. I play 3/3 since their only role in this deck is to be in the soul. So 3 of each. And I played 1 copy of Saga Maw. Right, so enter the field, soul blast 1, draw 1, and call 1 from your hand. Right, take note, call from hand. Okay, so if you were to use Ezel, and you look at top 2 and Saga Maw is among them, if you call it out, you cannot use the soul blast 1. Right, so do take note. That's why I only play 1 copy. Okay, next let's take a look at the grade 2s. Right, so among our grade 2s, we have Wonder Ezel and Bowman. Their main objective in the deck is to superior write my Ezel in early game. So 4 copy and 3 copies. And next we have Kaidan. So enter the field, counterblast 1, discard 1 card from hand, look at top 3, call 1, shuffle the deck, and if you have the grade 1 Hoel on the Vanguard or Rearguard circle, you can actually draw 1. Not that useful, I would say, so I kept it at 2 since there's a limited space. Okay, then Hoel and Gales for the superior right. Alright, this is the strong one, which is Hoel. So during this turn, alright, when this card is on the field, during this turn, if any unit were to be caught on the same column, it get power plus 5,000. If the grade 2 is on the field, it get plus 10,000 instead. So what happened is, let's say I have a unit on the rearguard circle now, and after that, by Ezel's ability, if I were to call this from the top onto the back row, this unit still get the power plus 5,000 because it's a continuous effect for this whole turn. Right, so it doesn't matter the sequence of which unit get caught first, the grade 1 or any other unit, they still get a power boost. So this is a very, very strong unit. And of course, after attacking, you can just intercept away the grade 2, and next turn you can do the same thing again, since our new Ezel allows you to call a lot unit easily. Okay, then we have Dedrain to counter charge or draw cards according to the situation. So cap it at 3. Right, for the triggers, you can either go full front trigger, or I splash 2 more draws because there's a problem with the hand size. A few crit for the pressure. Without crit, I would say the pressure is not really there. Even if I have big power, if my opponent were to guard at the early game, um, at the end game they can just take everything. So I added 2 crit for the additional pressure. Right? So that's for Ezel. It's a very very fast deck. Right? If you are lucky and you go first, you can actually superior right into the second Raven Hair with 2 before grade 3 in the soul, when your opponent is still at grade 1. So this is a very fast paced deck, but yeah, some issues if it goes against the new Narukami, because you have so many Excel circle, you actually give the Narukami a lot advantage. So do take note when you're doing your matchup about your speed of how fast you ride and how many Excel circle you call out. Okay, let's take a look at the new Nubatama deck featuring Magus as a secondary vanguard. So our new VR actually restrict your opponent's hand size. So on right at end of each turn, your opponent must discard until there's only 6 cards in his hand, and if there's a grade 3 in soul, discard until 4. Okay, so hand size control. And with Magus' multiple attack, so after I restrict it to 4 cards, Magus in, multiple attack in to do the final turn. Next we have Tendo Congo. So when retired from the front row rear guard during opponent turn, you may draw 1. When right on top, if your opponent have 4 or less cards in hand, you can call into a rear guard circle. So let's say this is my first right. I write Jamil Congo on top, open discard till there's only 4 cards in hand, and I call this out. So this additional rear guard. And we have the Mizukaze. So enter the field, Soul Blast a grade 3. And during this turn, your opponent cannot call the same grade from hand onto the Guardian Circle twice. So if he guard with a grade 0, he cannot use any more grade 0 for the rest of turn. And if they use Protect marker, it's considered grade Protect, so they cannot use the Protect marker again. So with the limited hand size, multiple attack, and Mizukaze is pretty much an end game. Next, this is a very very important card in this deck, which is Tsunamasa. So enter the field, choose a unit plus 3000. If it's a grade 3, soul charge 1. So why is this so important? If you notice, both our grade 3 requires to grade 3 in soul for them to pull out their full potential. So this actually allows you to do it on your first right. Right, so this is a 4 copy. You may want to cut it to 3. I'm not sure, but currently we're playing at 4. Tamahagane. Let's look at the second effect first. During your turn, if your opponent's not even during your turn, it's continuous. If your opponent has 4 or less cards, this unit will get power plus 5000, so it's 14,000 base. Enter the field, Soul Blast 1. Select opponent rear guard, return it back to hand, and opponent discard 1 card from hand. So you reduce the rear guard on the field, and there's no change to their hand because add to hand and they discard 1. So it's a plus. You may want to play until 4 copies if you want. Right, Magus Gale. So this is a very very strong card in this deck too. Enter the field, counter plus 1, soul plus 1, draw 1. That's the most important part. And you get power plus 6,000, so 15,000 attacker. After attacking battle, send to soul, return a rear guard back to hand. So you can actually recycle your units on the field. So a 4 copy. Right, Magus' Breath to help us with the returning cards back to hand, so that we can activate Magus' Storm skill. Sakura Fubuki for the power plus 3000 and also for the counter charge. And if you have 1 or less face up card in the damage zone, you actually get to draw 1. So drop 1, draw 1 to change cards in your hand. And the new addition that we add to this build was Fuki, since we have a lot returning back to hand, and when a unit for both player return back to hand, this unit get power plus 6000. Right, so it's a 14,000 boost or attacker, so it's a good plus. Okay, let's take a look at the alternative that we have. So first one we have was Oboro Zakura. So this unit enter the field, if you have 3 or more units, counter blast 1. During this turn, power plus 6000. And if there's 1 or less face out card in your damage zone, soul charge 1. This was added so that we can have, on the first strike, before we do anything, there's already a grade 3 in soul. So that was the idea. And also we have Dreadmaster that allows you to drop and draw. Alright, that's a very important part, because sometimes when you are stuck with cards that you do not need, or you needed some puzzle pieces, this actually comes very handy, right? Since it's a Vanguard and Rearguard skill. For the secondary skill, it's additional, it's a plus, so don't really need it. Previously, we tried the 15 or more grade 3 build, which with the idea that on the first strike, my opponent will have only 4 cards in hand. The issue with that deck is basically, first of all, we are stuck with a lot of grade 3 in hand. Secondly, the moment your opponent see Nubatama and they expect this card to be on the field, they call as many as they can on the field and guard as early as possible. So you lose the steam and there's not much attack power at the end of the game. So we cut down back to this build where we have multiple attacks and also reducing your opponent's hand. But this deck need a lot of time to set up, and it's not really recommended when you go against Excel or fast-paced deck. Right, so for the trigger, 6 draw, 6 crit. You may want to go to 8 draw if you need. Right, so that's for the Magus build. Okay, here we have the Nubatama deck that focus mainly on destruction of your opponent's cards in hand. So of course we have the new Jamil Congo that discard opponent deal there's 4 cards if there's a grade 3 in soul. And we have the main cards that actually do card destruction, which is Kushikiri Congo. So if your opponent has 4 or more cards in hand, counter plus 1, your opponent discard 1 card from hand. And if your effect were to return an opponent rearguard back to hand, during this turn, your opponent can call the same grade. The second effect is really not really necessary, as even if you were to return, let's say, a grade 1 or grade 2, it doesn't really matter, because it won't be enough to guard anything anyway. Unless your opponent were to call grade 0, then yes, you have already sealed up their sentinel. So this is secondary. And we have Kokushi Karasu, which is your finisher. Activate Soul Blast 3, discard 2 sentinel from hand. During this turn, this unit get power plus 15,000. And if your opponent is grade 3 and above, return all rearguard on the opponent's field back to hand. And your opponent discard 5 cards from hand. Right, so after you restrict the card to 4, you destroy the field and return everything back to hand. So with the 15,000 addition to the power, is actually a good finisher. Okay, for the grade 2, it's pretty similar to the Magus build. We have cards that increase the soul, cards that increase its own power if your opponent have 4 or less cards, and also it Soul Blast 1 and return a unit back to hand and drop 1. So it helps Kushikiri Congo a lot. So it's a 4 copies. Magus Storm for the additional hand and power plus 6,000. We play 4 of the Dreadmaster to exchange card from hand, and also Soul Blast 1, return 1 unit back to your opponent's hand. So field destruction, hand destruction. So it's a pretty interesting deck, but the only issue is if you cannot pull this off fast enough, you cannot do enough damage at the start of the game, the pressure is not really there, right? So even if there's only 4 cards in hand, some decks can actually turn the table very easily. So I don't really like this build, right? It don't really work well for me. Maybe a personal thing, but it's still a very interesting deck that actually do a lot of destruction to hand, considering that Vanguard is a game that requires a lot of cards in hand to guard yourself. So this is actually a counter to a lot of decks, right? So the Nubatama Hand Destruction build. Okay, now we'll take a look at the last deck, which is Narukami. So the new addition to this deck, Gauntlet Blaster Dragon. Okay, so this is a very strong card that can go first right or whatever. So during your turn, this unit get power plus 5000 and critical plus 1 for each empty rearguard circle in the front row. So this is actually an Excel killer. So if you are going against the Excel deck that have like 3 Excel circle, you actually get power plus 25,000 and 5 crit. So you can actually end the game with that. And above that, you get counter blast 1, discard 1 card from hand, bind all units in your opponent's front row, and you can actually move the unit that's on the rearguard circle from the back row to the same circle in front of it. So this is definitely a must play. Very, very strong. Next, we have Detonix Jewel Dragon, which can also work as a first strike. So we have 2 main VR that actually work as a first strike in this deck. For our third Vanguard, third grade 3, we were actually contemplating between the Great Composure, which get power plus 3000 for each empty rearguard circle in the front row, which works very, very well with Gauntlet Buster, since it's a V and R. But in the end, we went with Detonix Stinger. So when enter the field, counter plus 1, bind a unit in the front row. This unit get power plus 5000. If right on top, call this on the rearguard circle, and your Vanguard get power plus 10,000. So this is our third Vanguard there that actually do destruction. Composure do get the power, but it don't really help in most situations. So in the end, we went back to Stinger. So for the grade 2s, there are mainly cards that do destructions, like Cho. Enter the field, counter plus 1, choose a column, retire the rearguard in the front row, and move the back row to the front. And not only that, after your Vanguard attack, you can counter plus 1 and restand this unit. So you can attack with this unit first, add all trigger to him. When Vanguard attack, counter plus 1, stand again. So this is a very interesting card. Death Sights that uses Soul Blast instead of the Counter Blast, since it's pretty Counter Blast heavy right now. So we have 3 copies of this that do Soul Blast. And not only that, if there's no rearguard in the same column as this unit, it gets power plus 5000. So if you are playing against, let's say, Force or Protect, if this card is on Excel Circle, there's basically nothing in front of it. So it's a blast, so it's 3 copies. Zuitan, so this unit get power plus 5000 whenever you bind a unit, and if there's a Gauntlet Buster, you can actually get 5000. So they are stackable, and it not only work well with Gauntlet Buster, with any other unit. End of your Vanguard attack, if there's no rearguard in the front row, send to Soul and draw 1. So you increase the Soul and increase your hand size. So 4 copies. Let's take a look at the grade 1. Phoenix. Every time you bind a unit, you can actually call this from the drop. A very, very strong unit in Narukami. To be exact, it's a bit too strong. So you can actually like call on top of this unit, send this into the drop, activate the effect, call it back with additional 3000 power. So this is a must play. Next, we have the new Desert Gunner. So this is a pretty interesting card. when your Vanguard attack at the end of battle, choose a unit, you get power plus 3000, and your opponent cannot use Sentinel to guard it during this turn. So if I were to combo with Jewel Dragon, first attack, after the attack, I give 3000, cannot be guarded with Sentinel, restand, attack again. Alright, and after that, I can still add the 3000 to another unit. So it's a very, very strong addition to Narukami, which give the guard restriction to any of the unit that you need on the field. So you can pump all your triggers to one specific unit and give it the effect, and it cannot be guarded. Next we have Demolition for the additional power, and also if it's your Vanguard, you get to draw one if hit. And Counter Charge unit, because it's pretty Counter Blast heavy, but you only need do once at most, so 2 copies. For trigger, we play both the critical and the front trigger, because you need the power in the front row for the multi attack, and also without critical is the pressure is not there, right? Once again, that's the main problem with Excel. If my opponent knows that I only have front trigger, most probably they will not even guard it. They'll just take the 1 damage, right? So we added a few crit for Gauntlet Buster. If you do not guard, I get additional crit, you are pretty dead. And there's another idea of playing pure crit, but that will means that my rear guard in the front row will be pretty small, right? So most probably we'll reduce it to 2 and 4 critical in the future after a few test run, right? So that's for Narukami, and that's all for all the decks from BT05.